the equivalent of a vice president. He was. I said, "Are you going to answer my question?" And he's like, he doesn't move. I said, "What's wrong with this guy?" "I will answer all questions." Why don't you behave like that? JD doesn't behave like that. JD buds into conversations. I want to have that for at least a couple of days, okay, JD? We'll keep you.
In a lengthy and unhinged Twitter rant about yesterday's blue wave election, JD Vance called his boss and cult leader, Donald Trump, idiotic. And the only questions that remain are, did he do this on purpose or by accident? And will Donald Trump notice? But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, folks, this is interesting. And I think there may be some evidence to indicate Vance kind of threw this dig out on purpose, hoping Trump was too stupid not to notice. But let's see. So in his Truth Social rant, trying to cope with yesterday's brutal defeat for Republicans, this is how JD Vance begins. He says, "I think it's idiotic to overreact to a couple of elections in blue states, but a few thoughts." And we will get to those few thoughts, but I really want to focus on the phrase idiotic and how it relates to Trump. He says, "I think it's idiotic to overreact to a couple of elections in blue states, but a few thoughts." Well, you know who by JD Vance's standards overreacted to yesterday's election? Donald Trump. So this is reporting from Punchbowl News about the meeting that we've discussed in recent videos that Trump had with Senate Republicans, and JD Vance was reportedly in attendance, right? And again, more on that in a moment. But after Trump kicked the press out of the room, this is what happened. Inside the room, per multiple GOP senators, after reporters were kicked out, Trump said the election results showed that the shutdown has been, quote, worse for us than for them, and that Republicans are getting killed. Trump said the GOP will become a, quote, dead party if they don't nuke the filibuster. So again, to be very clear, Trump is saying, oh my God, guys, yesterday was a disaster. Not only are we losing the shutdown, but we're getting killed in elections because we're losing the shutdown. Shocking admissions that we've discussed in previous videos. But by JD Vance's own standards, that's Trump overreacting. Why isn't Trump saying, no big deal, blue states, it's just fine, totally fine, no big deal? Instead, Trump is publicly and privately panicking about these elections. So by definition, what JD Vance says is Donald Trump is idiotic. No big deal, boss. It's a couple of blue states, no big deal, it's fine. Why are you freaking out? Why are you running around pulling your hair out? As I pointed out on Twitter, JD openly calls his boss an idiot. Nice. That's what he did. He didn't name Trump, but Donald Trump is doing the very thing that JD Vance is calling idiotic. Again, is he doing this on purpose or is he doing this in private? Well, I will point out that during this meeting, this is reported by Mediaite, JD Vance awkwardly watches Trump mock him for, quote, butting into conversations in a room full of GOP senators. So this could be because Donald Trump was making fun of him. Let's find out.
I put a 100% tariff on China. As soon as I heard it, within 20 minutes, I put a 100% tariff on China. When President Xi, who's really a friend of mine, as much as he can be a friend, he's a tough man. He's a tough man. Smart man, actually. Very smart. The press doesn't like it when I call him very smart. You know, they think I'm not supposed to call him smart. But at least 1.4 billion people, without question. In fact, during the meeting, we were there. A couple of you were there, and some of you saw it. So he's here, and he's got about 6 people on each side. And every one of those people was standing like this. They were at attention. And I made a comment to one of them, and I got no response. I said, are you going to answer me? I got no response. And President Xi didn't let him have any. So if there's any question, I said, I want my cabinet to behave like that. I'm demanding that I want them sitting up like that, Tim, just nice and straight. I never saw posture like that. I've never seen men so scared in their lives. They have the equivalent of a vice president. He was. I said, are you going to answer my question? And he's like, he doesn't move. I said, what's wrong with this guy? I will answer all questions. Why don't you behave like that? JD doesn't behave like that. JD buds into conversations. I want to have that for at least a couple of days, okay, JD? We'll keep you long term, but a couple of days of that would be very, very nice. Okay.
So we played this clip in a previous video to just contextualize Trump wanting to emulate Xi Jinping. But he's making fun of JD Vance in a room full of GOP senators, emasculating him. And they're all laughing, right? And I mean, what else is JD Vance going to do? He's not going to openly challenge Trump in that situation, right? Knowing that Trump is the the spoke of the wheel, so to speak. But what Trump's saying there is like, you should be more like Xi Jinping's vice president and just sit down and shut up and only speak when I tell you to. You should be afraid of me. And why are you always like interjecting in conversations and like butting in and giving your opinion? And you know how Trump does. Trump wields humor. Sometimes Trump openly castigates people, and other times he uses sarcasm and, kind of vicious humor to humiliate people. That's what he did to JD Vance. He's like, sit down, shut up. Nobody cares about you. You're my puppet. Don't start expressing opinions and campaigning for president. I haven't endorsed you yet. Yes, I've said some nice things about you, but like I haven't anointed you yet. That's pretty shocking. Okay. And then after that, we get this from JD Vance. Again, it's idiotic to overreact to a couple of elections in blue states. And again, that clip I just played you was from the meeting. Like that was the meeting. The press was in. Donald Trump gave remarks in front of the press, and then he kicked the press out of the room, and the meeting continued. So that's the very same meeting that he humiliates Vance. And then afterwards, Vance writes this. I think it's idiotic to overreact to a couple of elections in blue states. So did JD Vance accidentally call his boss and cult leader an idiot? Or was he doing it on purpose because Trump humiliated him on camera in front of senators by saying, you should just sit down and shut up. You're window dressing. Nobody cares about you. We will never know. But let's continue. What are his thoughts? Number one, Scott Presler, TPUSA, and a bunch of others have been working hard to register voters. I said it in 2022, and I've said it repeatedly since. Our coalition is lower propensity, and that means we have to do better at turning out voters than we have in the past. Number two, we really need to focus on the home front. Trump has done a lot that has paid off in lower interest rates and lower inflation, but we inherited a disaster from Joe Biden, and Rome wasn't built in a day. We're going to keep working to make decent life affordable in this country, and that's the metric by which we'll ultimately judge in 2026 and beyond. Well, again, so it wasn't the Trump administration that created lower interest rates. It was actually the Federal Reserve, and Trump constantly attacks the Federal Reserve. You constantly attack the Federal Reserve. It was their decision to lower interest rates. You don't get credit for that, and especially when the reason that Jerome Powell cut interest rates is because you all have created a stagflationary environment, which is causing Jerome Powell to make risky decisions, and the least risk, the least of the risk, but still a risk nonetheless, is cutting interest rates to avoid stagflation. Again, you don't get credit for that. And if we are going to give you credit for that, then you're responsible for the stagflation. But the thing is, we don't have to give you credit for it because you are responsible for the stagflation. So again, number one. Number two, inflation isn't lower. Prices are up. Inflation is ticking upward. The rate of inflation has increased on Trump's watch. So not only does the data disprove you, but the American people have rejected you too, because poll after poll after poll shows the American people believe, a majority of them, that prices are increasing on Trump's watch. So again, you're just wrong. And the Rome wasn't built in a day. Your boy said he was going to cut prices in one day. On day one, we're going to cut costs. So again, is this another shot at Trump? Like, yeah, Trump's an idiot. He promised he could get this done in one day. Obviously, that's not going to happen. We have to recalibrate our expectations. Interesting how this could be interpreted. Number three, the infighting is stupid. I care about my fellow citizens, particularly young Americans, being able to afford a decent life. I care about immigration and our sovereignty. And I care about establishing peace overseas so our resources can be focused at home. If you care about these things too, let's work together. Well, we'll see what happens there. So I do want to end with a couple of things. Speaking of cope, let's talk about Mike Johnson, because Mike Johnson was saying some similar stuff today. This is what Mike Johnson had to say about yesterday's blue wave.
There's no surprises. What happened last night was blue states and blue cities voted blue. We all saw that coming. And no one should read too much into last night's election results. Off-year elections are not indicative of what's to come. That's what history teaches us.
So that's Mike Johnson, again, like JD Vance. No big deal, guys. It's kind of idiotic to overreact. So again, are you all calling Donald Trump an idiot, Mike Johnson? Interesting. And yet, the internet is forever. So let's roll back the clock. Jake Jordan says, Mike Johnson, day after 2021 elections, red wave, red tsunami in 2021, which was an off-year election. Mike Johnson was saying, that's going to be a red tsunami. That's a red wave. And who knows what it'll mean in the future. Now he's saying, well, no big deal. So again, full of shit and inconsistent. Classic Mike Johnson. One last clip I want to play, and then a final note. Here's Mike Johnson again.
I don't think the loss last night was any reflection about Republicans at all. I think people are frustrated and angry, as we are. I am. The president is. And we express that different ways. But look, we look forward. We're looking forward to a great election running on our record. And we're gonna get all of our incumbents reelected, and we're going to add to the number here. So that's.
not a reflection on us. People love us. They think we're perfect. This is, I mean, no big deal. Like, it's just, it happened, right? And so I think that's hilarious. And so this is what I said on Twitter. I said, thank God someone finally gets it. Last night had nothing to do with Trump or the Republicans. And if Republicans were smart, they'll not only keep doing what they've been doing, they'll double down all the way through 2028. Forget 2026. No, you want to run all the way. You run through that finish line. You break the tape there. Just don't let Beltway pundits trick you. That's why I said, like, sure, people are going to try to trick you and psych you out and gaslight you into thinking, oh, you need to change things and you're not perfect and Trump has issues and he's unpopular and, people are legitimately angry with you. No, you guys are perfect. Perfect. You're flawless and everything about you is flawless. And don't let anybody trick you, MAGA Republican politicians, into believing anything else. You want to win elections? The elections that really matter. Just keep doing what you're doing, baby. Double down, triple down. You do you and you do you to the best you possibly can. You be more of you than you can possibly be. Don't just be 100% you. Be 200% you. That's what I think. So anyway, there you have it. Very interesting reaction from Mike Johnson, especially JD Vance. He did call Donald Trump idiotic, even though he didn't drop him, and either did it on accident or on purpose. But I think there might be a case to make that he did it on purpose after being humiliated in front of not only the media, but a bunch of Republican senators whom JD Vance eventually wants to lead. He wants to make those people his bitch, just like he is Trump's bitch. And Trump just humiliated him in front of them. So I think it was a shot across the bow. What do you think? Let me know in the comments.